It's Monday. It's December 12th, 2022. I'm in this at the moment. Um, I'm watching what presents itself on the television. Um, Last week on Yellowstone, there was part of the episode. There was a fight between two women. Um, I watched it. It was between Beth and Summer. It was one of those things where I'm thinking if they're somebody's project daughters, for instance, in some hypothetical scenario. I realize Beth might be misconstrued as a shortening of somebody's longer name that they took in I don't know what, but it also could be something a kindred to Bethlehem, perhaps. So I'm watching, and then of course I know that there's Augustus. August happens to run along or congruent with summer. And then I'm looking at the Kevin Costner at the head of the table. And of course, this being his daughter's creation of some sort for this purpose in Paramount and Yellowstone. I'm watching with that keenness as Bethlehem seems to attack Summer out of nowhere. Says she wants to go for a walk and then just attacks her. I also, a channel that I don't normally watch, I don't know how I found it today. It's called Story TV. It was talking about a future dog fight. It was very enlightening. It was something I don't really get to see much, which is a different parallel universe, which has to do with aviation. I learned that the US uses the symbol F, and then Russia uses the symbol SU for Sue, and which I find funny at Sue, a Jew in JU, and then China uses the call symbol J. And then I'm thinking of the intellectual design of the break and the problem where I belonged somewhere between Bavaria and Prussia, and whatever they did in breaking Augustus and our arrival, just so Sons of Guns and Sons of August are cohesive in one version of whatever's going on. I mean, they said that they knew, then how do they not know? They'll fight from whatever amongst each other. It's usually how it goes. But restoration, I don't understand when Prince of Peace is how they refer to Alexander's arrival, or the star, the special child between Mary, Josri, in Jesus, in whatever. And then I'm listening as like a calcaneus calculus creator, which I am. I'm listening to how the professionals at Aviation speak amongst their own sales reps with their own reporters, their own vocabulary, their own parallel reality of how they symbolize things and how they pattern their world of I'm stuck on planet patrol at terraform of a different kind. Um, Stuck somewhere between a quantum leap of where I needed to be and wanted to be and chose to be, and where I'm currently trapped in a life that I don't even recognize. And I don't know how to get, never knew how to integrate, and I never knew how to. And actually, the way that things work out at birthing star systems and what they know, this reality makes no sense that there would even need to be a definition on my part. Um, but then I'm watching as storyboard and storytellers are telling the story through these two characters, aptly named, um, coined incident. I don't know. Seems perhaps. So I'm trying to decide. And then I'm listening how they're speaking of these drones. And now if I'm at apiary, APIARY, on the farm, and I know there's a queen, and then I know that there's drones, and they each have their own unit of several colonies, and the drones return to their own queen. And then I'm listening to the aviation person speak about this MQ-9, where it has no mother. And I'm listening to the way that that person is reporting in that they speak of this drone with no mother. I'm like, so you're a drone with no queen? Is that what you're saying? In theory, or in however this thing works, because apparently it works off of some software capability that's unlike the rest. And I'm like, all right, so I get that from concept board of just like visual creation to materialistic, that they actually now created this in some laboratory facility. It actually works. They have a commercial for it to explain it to others, which is what I call it today, in a story. I'm like, so it physically went into possibility, like the realm of possibility. Somebody actually built it. It's now a thing. It's now manufactured. They now sell it, this technology and this materialistic piece, out in the world somewhere. Not my world. I don't see it here in New York, but it's being sold somewhere in some frightening concept and actually going into motion. Um, and then there's a fighter pilot that they put in there, and he speaks of being able to totally knock out another pilot's software from far away. He uses his magical prowess and words and vocabulary of aviation level cognizance, um, and I love of like cognitive. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, right, okay, so again, I was hit and hurt in the field on land by a power that exists elsewhere in the sorcery committee of magical way like machines communicate, that I know software engineers and other like aviation engineers know about. Why is it the land things are so retarded and push for mental disease and mental defect if one gets hit with it and reports it, especially since I'm calcaneus calculus and I know what it means. Magic escalator. So I'm watching through that lens as well. Tonight, Lewis has some networking event called Naomi, NAMOI, or NAM, yeah, something along those lines. And of course, now I'm going through National Arbitrator Mediation possibility. And then the OMI. and I'm running through symbolic gestures of an intelligent design from an out of this world experience and a quantum leap. And how is this quantifiably relatable to the intellectual design and structure of the universe, for which I'm being dragged in through this black super hole in like some backstage event with the humans who use charity and invitations to work on one level, but then there's a second series almost of books that might think or mean that it's something else. So of course I'm calibrating all of that out, because it was not they did not invite me. They invited he. But he asked me to go and I will go, but he says it's has to do with mental disease. So now I'm not a big supporter of this. I'm not a big proponent of it. What I am interested in is the networking event to see who's attending. That's where I'm really more keen and curious, since now I no longer have my real estate and real estate contacts. So I'm like, So I'm going to go with him tonight on that. But this is interesting. So I'm going to go from the A story and then go back to this theoretical on the screen about from storytellers telling a different story between a Beth, whatever a Beth, Beth stands for, and then I don't know if is it like the bets from both sides, like caving in on one another, like rushing the field from both sides towards the center. Again, symbolically, but whatever. So there's that, and then against this summer, which I don't like how much summer's gotten hit and how badly beaten summer is, especially if that's a metaphor or they're trying to push that like fight. Is that America? Am I supposed to at this point, since the 2 Augusts are in America? Is that what they're trying to like? If I can't reach you, I'll reach you a different way. I'll just beat the crap out of you on some theoretical show and just show my might from elsewhere. I mean, again, I've already been sideswiped by a J. That's a problem. And there's an SUV somewhere. And like, how do you get a mid-sized helicopter in an SUV? I don't know. But it's an interesting question that nobody seems to ever have the answer for, which I really find amusing. Not that I asked it much ever to human anything, but on my own journal and documentary, it is just something to throw out there. It makes very few people smile. And so, and I really don't have access to anything in an F category, so I like on that. Shows you just who shows up. So here this says dogfights of the future. It says the US F-22 and F-35, the Eurofighter Typhoon, the Russian Su-35 and Su-37, and China's Chengdu J-10.
The Reapers have a single prop engine in the back that can carry them up to 1,000 miles from their launch site at speeds of 300 miles.
To me, this looks like somebody's kid got into engineering school, ran off with a project in somebody's trust fund, and now this looks like some kind of commercial storyboard. It's on Story Television. Not a level that I was ever able to get into. I don't know their letters, their call signs. Again, I've had over 6 foot on that movie. They went from Stealth, the movie, to Roadhouse, where I was being brought on some kind of date. That was the Paul Thompson, Kathy Stepnick evening, or Kathy Taylor evening, for like my field reps, local, involved after I was taken somewhere. They had to meet us there.
Per hour.
If nothing else, we know that one of the reasons people are intrigued in this technology is UCAVs, UAVs, they don't have mothers. So they are, in fact, not expendable, but able to mitigate risk.
If you don't have to put a pilot into danger to accomplish a mission, that's good. You can afford to lose the platform, perhaps. Yeah, they're expensive. You don't want to lose it. But if they really have to go into a high-threat environment, a vicious air defense system, yeah, let the drones go in.
For this reason, UCAVs will be an integral part of any future air campaign.
That I'm going to segue into the fight. Two actress drones, one named Beth, one named whatever, just so this way we wrap that conversation up. And then I'm going to double back to another piece of this where they say that they actually scramble and knock out the pilots. They have the capability of knocking out the pilot's ability to man the plane. Again, in 2015, actually even earlier than that, I kept getting interference with my health and my ability to maintain electrical impulse of my heart, of my cardiac muscle, and all sorts of stuff. My anemia was going. My legs were having trouble, but intermittently. And none of the doctors, like I would go for diagnostic tests, but again, I'm not in an area where they have the level of doctors for which I need, and actually, like, no, like, emergency management, energy management, whatever. So it went almost unacknowledged. I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know who to ask for help, but I keep getting abused in the field by people that have capabilities elsewhere. Now, again, at this Yellowstone fight, I look at this Beth and I look at this Summer, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't tell who would be considered Kennedy Space Station and who would be considered Johnson Space Station. And would they, like, would the two women try to tear each other apart? Like, I don't know. I haven't met any of them. I met a Johnson once, but, like, we really didn't get along. Not that we fought either. Just I had a different, I mean, I'm a birthing star system. It's a different whatever.
You know what's going to happen, don't you, sir?
I suspect it's happening right now, Rip. I'm sick of listening to it. Let it get out of their system.
Nothing gets out of your daughter's system, sir. Excuse me.
Now, is this supposed to be Bethlehem and August? Just curious. In somebody's fantasy league of storytellers, just to, like, squash it, move on.
Enough of that jujitsu shit! How about that shit?
Do you know how stupid you both look? You look ridiculous. Do you think that you're going to beat the other one into respecting your opinion? Hell, I don't even know how you can respect yourselves. Is this the kind of manners that you want to teach that boy? you. I don't know you, but I know this. You're never going to convince someone to think the way that you think by insulting them in their own house. You don't like the food? Don't fucking eat it. I don't think I need to tell you all the people that are starving around this planet tonight. So maybe shut the fuck up and say thank you. Or leave. There's an option no one thought about.
I can't leave.
Well, unless you want this to happen every night for the rest of the time that you're here, I suggest you figure out a way to get along. Now, Beth, have you had enough?
Not even close.
What about you, Summer? Huh?
I can do this all night.
Fine. And let's end it with a little bit of dignity instead of rolling around on the ground like a bunch of fucking 9-year-olds. Just stand here and trade them until one of you's had enough.
Oh!
No, don't look at me. I'm not the one that got you into this. You want to quit, Summer? I'll make sure it stays quit. But I ain't quitting for you.
Yeah.
Now, I hear on a drone them speak of this story and of this capability and of whatever they built with whoever's kid they accepted into some special school that I wasn't allowed into in whatever. And I hear them talk about jamming this drone in possibilities. And for what purpose? I get in someone's conversation, this might make sense, but when it's turned against a civilian and just a citizen, an American, and a United States of America person, it then becomes a problem when the target became my head and my ability to think clearly. And there's some kind of radio wave being shot, however that happens, if it's from satellite, if it's from the new technology of the light bulbs and the new code that they put in through the electric company. I mean, I know all the doorways of possibility that they could have entered the field of energy management and messed with the code that messes with the physiology of the anatomy. And I can see the amount of personnel that they keep hiring in some arms whatever that doesn't even look family oriented to past presidents and their children that are still in the field. And so that frightens me.
Several other lightnings, filling the electronic countermeasure role, jam other targeting radar stations to prevent further launches.
Another thing you can do with an ESA radar, and it's classified, is in essence fry the other guy's electronics. There's enough energy that you can focus with one of these radars that you can just cook his computer. Maybe you can knock out some of his radar system.
When that is one of your daughter's heads for presidents that look like Biden could be my dad or Trump could be my dad, when it's one of your kids in the field in a union that we all get along because we're just one big happy family, and right, yeah, just go with that for a minute on storyboard. When it's your kid's head that's getting fried and the ability to think is being unable to have normal thought pattern in causing a pressurized ischemic stroke of some sort or a ischemic event in the cephalic region because the pressure changed in the cabin around me that has no walls and no boundaries in the realm of possibility of that quantifiable effect. That's what's really frightening. And then to further that, not have a contact in a single field in order to report it or know who collects that information and which one of the past presidents or the space agencies collects that information and actually cares about based on the intelligent design of my upbringing. Like, who is actually looking out and fighting for the kid that grew up in the Glen, not on the street in New York? Just curious. Especially after so many years of bad actors and bad programming have gone on. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.